Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Soviet SimCity. I'm Mr. Squiggs. It's actually called Soviet Republic Workers and Resources. Today, we're going to finally activate this town of Bahia Nova, which you've seen me building over the past 2 episodes. We finally have everything we need. I think we're waiting on 1 or 2 sewer pipe connections and the prison, and that's basically it. So I think one of the first things I might do, actually, I'll just take a little look at the town here, but actually I want to add more farms and develop the agriculture because I've bought machinery. I've bought expensive tractors to sow the fields, and I think I've got more tractors than fields at this point. Like, they're going to run out of work to do. And that would be a waste. So better plan some more fields, get some crops produced, even if the rest of the agriculture industry is not developed. Like, even if we can't get our food factory or our distillery built, it's still a good idea to produce the crops if we can, rather than just having the equipment we've paid for sitting there doing nothing. Worst comes to worst, we can always export the grain or save it, or whatever. So it's definitely going to be better for us to produce something versus not. So yeah, I'll speed things up, and we should be, just while I'm waiting for the last couple constructions to finish, I'll plant some farms. Okay, we're pretty much ready to go here. I'm just going to double check a couple buildings like this water treatment plant. And I've got my temporary dirt parking lot of a distribution office. And yeah, it's finally got the vehicles it needs. This is the closest in realistic mode that we can come to an automatic purchase of resources. In the non-realistic mode, you can just sort of virtually buy resources in a lot of the buildings. You can just push a button and it will just deduct rubles and make resources appear. Here in realistic mode, I need to use this distribution office, but I have all the various trucks. I have an oil tanker, a refrigerated truck, and a truck for everything else, dry goods. So those I can send to the customs house at the border to automatically pick up goods and bring them everywhere they're needed. So this is how we're filling our stores with clothing, electronics, meat, food, and the pubs with beer. And this water treatment plant is not going to work without chemicals, which do get a bit expensive, but honestly, at the beginning, I'm fully expecting that we'll be able to handle it. Our population will be so small. It will be, I think it's, I know at the top it says 10,000, but I think it's not even 1,000 people. It's only 1,000 or 2,000 in Bahia Nova right now. So the rate at which they're going to consume these resources at first, it's going to be very slow. So I think having just 1 truck of each type will work at the beginning. I am just supervising a little bit this 1 truck to see what it does, and yeah, there we go, it's getting chemicals. I don't want to activate until everything is truly ready to go. right? Water is super important. When I start activating buildings, everyone's going to complain they don't have drinking water. And when workers walk to that treatment plant, there better be chemicals there so that they can start working and producing water right away. But there we go. So I'll just wait for that and maybe plop down some more farms here. Okay, so we do have a bit of a problem, which is financial in nature. We're down to our last 100 grand here, and we're going to need to buy vehicles. We're going to need to make other purchases as well. So I do have a solution in mind, which is to buy a garbage truck and to import something with a negative value. It's a bit of a loophole. It's a bit cheaty, I fully admit, but it's something a real country could and real countries have done. I'm going to import hazardous waste, which has a negative value, right? So normally if we are producing hazardous waste, we would have to pay at the border to export it, whereas they will pay us. Not all the waste types do that. I think any of the waste types that can be useful, even biological, fertilizer, even the scrap metal and plastic, I think they all have a very low positive value. So most of the waste types would not work for this trick. Because they're still going to charge me, for example, to import biological waste, which I might want to do to get fertilizer anyway. But I've got this waste truck going here, and it's just going to keep going back and forth between the border and our dump and import hazardous waste. And that's going to bring in a tiny bit of cash at the beginning. This is a very temporary solution. I don't want to be doing this, and I don't want to do this on an enormous scale because it's nasty. They call it hazardous waste for a reason, and in the game I do believe it produces pollution to the surrounding area. So I am going to do my best to make sure that it's all kept very close to the border, far from the town, if at all possible, to mitigate the pollution effect. But I am gonna need to throw down a couple of actual dumps here. I think I can only have 4 of the temporary parking lot dumps, and you know what? They don't hold very much anyway. So I am building some larger ones. This is a mod building, but really decently large dump there. So yeah, I'm gonna, eventually it's gonna be a long time till we have our own waste management sector. So I'm gonna need a large dump for this hazardous waste scheme, of course, but I'm gonna need dumps around here for the regular there we go, the regular waste that comes out of our town, right? I don't want to be paying for someone else to process that, and it can't stay in the town. That's going to cause all kinds of health issues. So this sort of border region, it's definitely going to be my dump region. So let me just see. Yeah, I'm just taking a look. Yeah, one load already filled almost a third of that temporary dump there. But it did bring in some key cash. It did almost pay for that entire truck in just one load. So that's nice. There we go. And I am, with these larger dumps, putting waste sorting. Normally we have to research waste sorting before service buildings and homes will sort their waste. However, industry can sort its waste from the very beginning. So I do like to have that where I've got industry, the water treatment plant counts as industry, the farm counts as industry. So, where possible, I'm already going to sort, even if I can't process yet. I'd rather sort where I can, particularly, again, for the problem of hazardous waste producing pollution. If an industry sorts out the hazardous waste out of the mixed, then the mixed is going to be less toxic, less polluting than it otherwise would have been. So, yeah. I'm also going to need to bring in some fertilizer to my farm because we're not going to get much yield in this first year. I think most of the farms have a fertility near zero right now. So it's good to have. It's a mod vehicle, that really big garbage skiff that's purchasable using rubles. There you go. It's almost 10 grand per load, so it's significant. It's enough to keep us going here at the beginning. But there we go. I love having that garbage skiff, and I will use it at this early stage for various tasks, hauling the nasties, hauling fertilizer to the farm, bringing in hazardous waste so we can make a bit of cash. There we go. We're gonna fully activate this town any minute now. Okay, so I might just want to buy one more bus here to act as a city bus, because I've got some bus stations set up and some workplaces set up, and most of our town is pretty walkable, but there are services and workplaces that there's only one of, and they're just in one part of town. So I do want to have a bus just for basic transit. I don't expect that it will be very heavily used because, like I said, most people can walk to most things, but I do just want to ensure that the people, for example, who don't have proximity to the movie theater or the college, for example, that they can get there. And it may also have the effect that unemployed people will get ferried to sort of the edges of town, closer to some industry. I'm thinking specifically of those agricultural buildings. Eventually, they're going to need a lot of workers. So we'll start with 2. I think that should be good. Yeah. Okay, I'm feeling ready. Let's start with this heating plant. Give it a few workers. And we've got buses running, so I guess we can allow people to go to the bus stop. Movie theater. Indoor pool. Indoor pool, very important, especially in the winter. And the big one, shopping center, full of goods. Good to see. Super important that we have a fire station, small clinic, art gallery. There's the cop station. I don't know. I think we don't super need the town hall to be staffed right away. Kindergartens, absolutely no one's going to be able to work if their kids can't go to kindergarten or to school. And the sports fields also. Didn't I have a pub around here? Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, there's the pub. 5 might be excessive, but we'll see. We'll see how things go. So we're turning everything on at once. We'll have 1 day of shock, probably. But I think things should start working out pretty smoothly. Of course, we're going to monitor the situation. And the technical university. I want to give this enough employees because we're going to want to get some university educated people coming out of there as early as we can. And hopefully do some research at the same time if we can. Okay. Oh yeah, water treatment. Can't forget. Good. Is that everything? We have stuff that's not built yet, but I think for now, that is going to about do it. That is going to make this whole town come to life. Yeah. Double check here, but I think, yeah, we're waiting on the pub to get built. We're waiting on the prison to get built. Oh yeah, cop station's not going to work unless I buy a vehicle, which I guess, yeah, I guess we're buying a Western vehicle with our US dollars, which is all we have left. Yeah, we got a couple of those. Same thing with the clinic, eh? I really need an ambulance, don't I? I kind of want something bigger. Okay, we're gonna buy this French thing. And I think that's about it. I think I better take a deep breath, unpause the game, and hope that this town doesn't crash and burn. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so we were doing pretty good, but it does appear that some of these houses are mildly depopulated, and we may not have enough workers for the services. If we just have enough workers for the services, I'm pretty confident that the population will grow naturally. But yeah, this is quite disappointing that some people ran away. I feel I have no choice but to invite a few immigrants, which I think is a bit preferable to moving people in just because of the happiness factor. I think if I move people in from the other towns on the map, they're going to start more unhappy. And of course it costs money to invite these immigrants, so I'm resorting to money lending. We'll see. Hopefully I don't end up in a debt trap, but we just got to get this town off the ground. Yeah. Yeah, forget everything I just said. I am absolutely going to need to bring a bunch of workers in and really save my cash to bring in educated workers. And I just have to hope, I know full well that a whole bunch of these people I'm moving in, they're going to flee away pretty fast. They're going to be unhappy. And I think at the beginning, some of my services will be a bit overloaded. And again, when they make that first attempt to go and satisfy a particular need, if they happen to fail that first time, on top of the unhappiness of being forced to move, they're really not going to like it and they're going to run away. So I am going to move in a whole bunch, actually, and hope that we've still got a critical mass enough to spark something and get the town going. But I'm much more confident than last time. To those of you who watched the very early episodes in this series, this is kind of what happened to our first attempt on a different map in a town called Windsor. But we've got a lot more stuff built this time. We've got a whole town that should have all the services people need. So I do expect some proportion of these people, the least unhappy, to actually stay and keep working, and then their population should at least be self-replacing and stable, if not actually growing. So we'll fill all these ones, especially close to the center of town, and we'll hope for the best. Yeah, a few of these houses still have some population, but really we did experience some depopulation, and that must be pretty recent because the numbers were looking okay back in the winter time, about 6 months ago. Let's see the population. Only 600. And about half of them I just moved in. Well, maybe not half, but wow. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna need to bring in more people. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. We only had a few. I think there was initially about 1,000 people in this town before I built anything. So we lost 70% or 80% of them. Building without drinking water. Are people going now that I brought some people in? Come on. Yes, okay. So we should have water soon, but realistically I need to bring in more people. There we go. Okay, just checking. Just gonna check a bunch of buildings, see how the peeps are flowing. And our emergency vehicles haven't showed up yet. I imagine they've got quite a drive from the border. Okay, our water tower is not full, but our treatment plant's only running at 2/3, so that's good. Huh, nobody in the art gallery. Nobody in the movie theater. That's a bit worrisome. Okay, people are using the pool. That's good. But no fresh air. Indoor activity only. No fresh air. Fine. Yeah, and you know what? Okay, no one studying. Oh, the school's a bit overloaded. Okay, same thing here, same thing here. Okay, well, that's good, I guess. That the kids are finding their way to those services. And having lots of babies and children in our society is a very good sign. Because the children are the future. They're the next generation of workers. Let's see what we've got now. $8.79. Okay. Do I bring in some more? We might be able to make it work just with that for now. Yeah, some of these buildings have no complaints, actually, and might hang on to most of their workers. Yeah, if we can keep the staffing levels decent, we might be okay here. And am I going bankrupt? I think I'm allowed to borrow a lot more money before I go bankrupt. And I may keep doing the trick of importing some hazardous waste. But to be honest, if we can keep any sort of population in the town at all, eventually we'll produce. We'll have some food and alcohol being produced, and we can sell that and make some money. What do we want to do here? There's no one going to the auditorium, so I'm tempted to just keep enough to do some research here. Since our only industry right now is agriculture, that's the decision, I guess, to go with. Start with something that will help with our agriculture industry. Alright, things seem to be going okay, but let's take a look at the financial situation. So, yeah, actually, we've imported $66,000 worth of rubles worth of hazardous waste. So that's good, and that, at least in the past month, has offset all our imports, which are not enormous right now. Okay. Things are working. We've got doctors, we've got police officers, we've got teachers. We may have a functioning society here. Oh, I wasn't even paying attention, but there we go, fire extinguished. So I think we were successful. Our firefighters are successful at stopping buildings being destroyed by fire. That's good to know. Guess I better pay more close attention, but this is ideal. When we have a big republic, I will not be able to go to every fire and make sure that enough vehicles are on the way. So this is something that should work automatically. And it looks like, oh, there's another one. Perfect. It is working automatically, even with just a handful of workers. This is excellent. What is it? The food factory. Okay, that's complete. Excellent. I can't run it right away. I think we're waiting on water connection. But this is good news. We will soon be able to turn crops into food. So I may just, actually, I think I'm going to throw down a site for some dumpsters. Because it would be great to sort some of the waste that's coming out of these agricultural buildings. In particular, I think they produce a lot of biological waste, which becomes fertilizer over time in a dump. So we definitely don't want that going into mixed waste. We definitely want that being sorted out if we can, because that will be, that's a good cycle. That will be an input that goes back in to our agriculture production chain. Yeah, we're getting a lot of these messages of people unhappy. Uh-oh, electricity problem. Just gonna change that so that gets built faster, but yeah, we're waiting on water to get put in here. Got something going on with electricity. And I'm out of money. That's exactly what was wrong. So I am currently buying all electricity from the outside, which means every time I run out of cash, we stop buying the electricity. And I do believe that it's same thing here. I've got to hold up at the border because my truck that's supposed to be importing hazardous waste has a minuscule amount of other waste in it. I don't know if it's going to be able to unload there. But I imagine also some of these other trucks also get stuck. Whatever trucks are going to the border trying to buy goods, if there's no cash available for them to buy goods, I think that delays them as well. Okay. Okay, so might just review some things more comprehensively. We've got 954 workers and an actual population of 1213, so that seems to be holding steady. Let's just take a look at the charts here. So yeah, all-time population, it curved down, it's curving back in. We have births. We have 43 births and 1,000 deaths. But if you look at the chart, the escapes way down. Most of our escapes were in a single year, 1961. Hardly any this year. But and immigrants, obviously, we paid to bring people in. Same thing with the deaths. I think they are on the decline, so that's good. Happiness at 69, health at 85. Health being at 85 at this early stage is good. We're burning coal to warm this town. We have one tiny clinic and one tiny ambulance, so I am pleasantly surprised to see that. People were even able to buy some electronics from the store. That's going to make those people happy. I'm out of money again. Okay. I'm optimistic. Let's keep things rolling here. Yeah, I gotta fix this. I don't believe I can kick out. With things of value, you can usually choose to discard it automatically, which is a bit unrealistic. But for this truck, yeah, I want to name this line so that I save the line. Because I'm going to have to send this truck to a regular dump so that I can eliminate 0.011 tons of this waste. I don't know how this happens. Because this should have only been carrying hazardous waste. I'm imagining that some, the wastes get labeled with a type, and sometimes you hover over it and it says, actually, this contains this X% of this kind of waste and Y% of that kind of waste. So I'm wondering if somehow some of this hazardous waste got reinterpreted as mixed, like it emptied hazardous and really there was something else that included in the hazardous that was not hazardous. I'm gonna hazard a guess that that's what's going on, so I'll have to go and check again on that truck later on. Okay, we've got some stuff going on here. I think the water infrastructure around here is good to go. So we're activating this food factory. I think we've got grain in the silo, about 500 tons, and the harvest coming in. And look at that, the distillery is also going to finish any day now. And just up the workers that it can take as well. But yeah, we're going to be producing agricultural products other than grain, which is great. Because grain, while we could export it on its own, it's not going to be worth very much. And when you factor in that we're buying gasoline that the trucks burn, you do have to ensure that what the trucks are carrying is a high enough value. So it is better to have trucks bringing food and alcohol to the border that are higher value in less space versus the grain itself. Okay. All right, let's take another quick look at the population statistics. Let's go all time. And population seems to be holding steady. Babies back up. Remember when we only had 40? Now we got 200. Plenty of housing. There's no 21-year-olds with no housing. Basic education on the rise. No education is flat, which is good. Nice. And 800 educated workers. Nice. Okay. Unemployment dropping as we open new businesses up. Okay. I'm liking what I'm seeing. These are positive trends. Births 70. Excellent. Excellent. And deaths, about 100 in the year so far. Escapes, very few. So we are very rapidly approaching population stability. If deaths fall any further or births grow any further at all, it's a tiny gap between them, we will be in a net growth situation, which is excellent. And I am confident that that will happen. Okay, I need to work a bit with the distribution offices. So right now, I've only got the free dirt parking lot versions. They only allow you to have 3 vehicles, and at this point, I need at least 4. I need the 2 oil tankers, and I need a refrigerated truck and a covered hull truck for everything that's not refrigerated. So I need those 4 minimum, and if the town grows, I'll need more in the future. So what I'm doing here is I'm just, whereas I had 1 office bringing everything in from the border, now I've got 1 for goods and 1 for fuel, gasoline only. So we're kind of segregating that way. And specifically because we do have some agriculture, this gives us some flexibility. The need for importing goods, specifically food and alcohol, that will go down. And I've got another distribution office that I've set up for that. So we do need to have a few. I like to have ones for specific purposes and set them up as sort of as efficiently as we can. So in this case, I've got this 3rd one over here near our agriculture buildings that's designed to push out food and alcohol to the towns that need it. I'm leaving everything that needs goods just in case, because at near the border I've just got the one covered hull. So there's always the chance that it gets overloaded, and we don't want to run out of chemicals or clothing or something essential. So even this other one here by the food factory, it can go to the border and pick up purchased goods that are not food or alcohol if it needs to. But I think we may, with these buildings, we'll probably stop importing food and alcohol already. Probably will be a net exporter. Because it's going to be way more than our tiny population needs at this point in time. All right, what are we doing here? I need absolutely to place a vehicle repair station. So we are highly dependent on all these vehicles that go around, and we're strapped for cash. We can't afford to necessarily to replace them. We need them to last. As much as, I'd like to replace them as newer, better vehicles become available, but we have to accept that we might be stuck with the vehicles we have, and we need to keep them running as long as we can. And I've decided to put it out in this corner, pretty close to this one major road I've got, and I've put it on its own because the nice thing about the repair station is that if you put parking lots or depots or basically any building where vehicles can be stored, it will automatically repair vehicles in those buildings. So, which is nice because it itself doesn't have parking. Normally the vehicle repair station, it's a bit like a rail construction office. It will take in workers, so it needs to be close enough for workers, but it has this space for a covered hull truck, and basically it will send this virtual repairman, this covered hull truck, out to repair things anywhere within its range. But that can be overwhelming, and with this little one truck is all you get, and that may not be enough. So I like to have parking lots near it so that when I find vehicles that are getting too high on the level of wear and tear, I can just send them to the depot nearby and know that eventually they will just be repaired automatically. So that's what we're planning right here, right now. Okay, let's check in on the statistics again. Actual population 1282, 126 babies, 171 kids, 194 with university education. Excellent. That's all looking good so far. Let's look at some global trends. Population looks like it's holding steady. So let's take a look at this year. There we go. That's nice. So we had been dropping, and now in the last couple months, we are strictly rising. Nice. Okay. That's looking good. Let's see. Education. University educated people. It's very good to see that university educated people, the population is increasing, because I believe they become even less tolerant to unhappiness the more educated they are. So, in other words, if we weren't meeting their needs, people would go out of the schools and very soon flee the Republic. There we go. No education dropping, basic education holding steady. It's actually not a terrible thing if our no education is growing, as long as the educated population's also growing. But look at that. The children are down, but babies are up. And that makes sense, because you can see for a while the number of babies was dropping. So that explains why the number of kids is still dropping, because we haven't caught up yet. As there were fewer and fewer babies, there was fewer and fewer kids, and then as they grow up, or move away, or die, hope not die, they should be replaced by babies, but when there were fewer and fewer babies, obviously there's fewer and fewer to grow into kids. But we should soon see, with some delay, with a couple years of delay, we should see this same curve that we see in babies eventually in children. But that's very optimistic. It's a very good picture. It's good that people are having kids. That is also something that I think would not happen if the needs were not being met. And there we go. This is a good month-by-month breakdown. So month after month, we're getting more and more births. Deaths, still higher than I'd like, but at least the trend is flat, whereas our births trend is upwards. And look at that. If you compare our births to our deaths plus our escapes for this year, we're even. We've broken even. I'm ignoring the immigration because it's not natural. I paid for the immigration. But already we have broken even on the population math. So it seems like all the immigrants I hired, all the people I forced into the town, we did reach the critical mass. Enough of them decided to stay, and not just stay, but have 134 kids. Our own little mini baby boom. And look at that. That's what I like to see. There is a clear downward trend in the deaths. So as people are able to go to the hospital or things like that, use sports, they're getting healthier and they're dying at a lower rate. Same thing with these escapes. As people keep going and meeting all their needs, they are running away at a lower rate. That's very good to see. And just like that, Bahia Nova is no longer the smallest town on the map. It's kind of in the middle, 1283. So this is a good indicator. It's kind of good to be in the middle of the pack, because if we do well, we'll notice that it gets larger compared to the other towns. And if we do poorly or we have misfortune, well, we might shrink back to being the smallest one again. But as far as I know, all these other towns should have populations that are static, shouldn't be growing nor shrinking. So they're a good indicator of how well we're doing. So we'll keep an eye on it. Okay, it's January 1964, so it might be a good time to take a look at some of the last year's stats, since 1963 was really the first year that there was real economic activity going on in our town. So let's take a look first of all at imports, listed here by order of how much money we spent. Fuel, first of all, number one, all these vehicles burning gas all day. We also filled up our large tanks of all our gas stations. Steel, gravel, asphalt, all construction material. No surprises there. Then you see some clothes. Yeah, the gravel, it's not a huge surprise. I guess this tracks along with what we've been building. Yeah, and fuel, you can see there's peaks and there's valleys. It does vary. It's not a uniform amount of consumption. And I guess around harvest time, there's a spike because vehicles are harvesting that normally sit there parked. Clothes we don't even buy every month. Food we bought a few times, but now we're a net exporter. Power, there we go. And you can see where the city came to life in that graph. And coal, only really used much in the colder months so far. So there we go. Yeah, alcohol, we filled up the pubs at the beginning, but then we became a producer, so we never really bought much more. Yeah, everything else, it's if we happened to need it for construction project, we purchased it in that month. Okay. And what do we got there? Oh yes, we imported hazardous waste. So it's a negative cost of nearly 300 grand. Wow. That's a good trick, eh? That's nice. Okay. But even despite importing all that waste, we still managed to spend 300,000 rubles on imports. Vehicles, I'm just taking a look at when we imported vehicles. And of course we did borrow money, lots. Okay, and you can see the months in which I bought American vehicles, those big yellow bars, and the green. The green is a nice story because it's showing you the month by month ruble balance, and you can see when we become an agriculture exporter, we start to balance out. So that's nice. That means we can almost afford everything we're buying, just by selling food and alcohol. Yeah, so there we go. If we look just at December, we did have a negative cost, so we had a slight profit, mostly by importing hazardous waste, though, which I would rather not keep doing forever. Okay, let's also take a quick look at the population statistics for last year versus this year. And unfortunately, in this year, population shrunk a bit. Seems there is a bit of a spike in deaths and escapes during the winter months. However, we had a positive for the whole year last year, and to be honest, births have only cooled a tiny bit, so I'm not super concerned. Okay, friends, thanks for watching, but I think we're going to leave it there for now. This has been Soviet SimCity. I'm Mr. Squiggs.